Hello everyone, I am Parker. Today we will continue discussing the issue of children lying. In the previous discussio we talked about children lying to their parents. In this session I would like to address the topic of children lying to their friends, classmates or even teachers outside their home environment. When children lie outside their home environment, there are generally two aspects to their behavior. Firstly, they may lie to their classmates or teachers for their selfish interests or personal reasons. Secondly, they may exhibit behaviors like exaggeration, showing off or boasting. All of these phenomena can be very dangerous for a child's development. Whether it's lying to others or boasting, the underlying reasons are often related to their desire for attention and their sense of vanity, which can grow as they get older. I believe as parents it is essential not to overlook this very significant phenomenon. Nowadays many parents tend to be indifferent or unconcerned about their child's behavior outside, including boasting, showing off and telling tall tales to friends and peers. Indeed, many parents are unaware, do not understand or fail to comprehend the seriousness and the fearfulness of their child's desire for attention and vanity, which leads to these lying behaviors. It can be said that the majority of families are like this, where they are only concerned about whether their child lies to them and not about their child's behavior of lying to others outside the home. This is indeed a very concerning habit. If a child develops this habit from a young age and continues with it, bluntly speaking, they may not achieve much in their life as they grow older. There is a famous saying that goes, tell a lie 100 times and it becomes the truth. What does it mean? In reality, a lie will always remain a lie, and it cannot turn into the truth. However, this saying refers to the psychological impact of repeating a lie. It can create a sense of truth in the mind of the person who tells it, almost like brainwashing. For example, let's consider a simple example. A child boasts about how superior and wealthy their parents and family are, even though it may not be true. This repetition can create a desire in the child's mind, and the more they say it, the more they feel this desire. When this desire does not align with reality, it can lead to a more serious crisis. The child might resort to any means, even criminal ones, to fulfill their desires. Especially when it comes to money, this kind of willingness to resort to any means along with attention seeking and vanity is a very alarming phenomenon. To be frank, from this stage a child's psychology starts to become distorted. Therefore, as parents we should all pay close attention to the emergence of such behavior during this stage. Children are not only seeking attention but also developing the mentioned sense of vanity. Once vanity sets in, the consequences can be very alarming. For example, if a child comes from an ordinary family but develops a sense of vanity, they may feel the need to portray themselves as wealthy. How can they do that? They might start asking their parents for money. But since the resources are limited, they resort to deceptive means like lying to their parents or deceiving other relatives to obtain money. This path can lead them down a dangerous and deceitful road. So here I want to particularly remind all the parents that you should pay close attention to their children's attitudes and behaviors outside the home when educating them. If you neglect their behavior outside and blindly trust your children, bluntly speaking, it won't benefit their future in any way. Vanity, attention seeking, and similar traits will grow as your child gets older, and we cannot eliminate these psychological states. All we can do is explain to our children, make them understand the reasons behind certain behaviors, and encourage them to develop a mindset of striving for improvement and success. This is the responsibility we as parents shall fulfill. Of course, as responsible teachers we do communicate with parents about such matters. However, the reality is that many parents do not take this seriously or see it as their responsibility towards their children. This is indeed a very concerning phenomenon. We understand that children will inevitably develop traits like vanity, a sense of honor, and even a tendency to compare themselves with others. The only way to address these issues is to reason with the children and provide them with proper guidance. In the real world there is indeed a distorted phenomenon in the education of children in This regard, what do I mean by a distorted phenomenon? It is a fact that many parents always satisfy their children's material desires, even providing them with allowances and such. However, the problem is that children interpret this satisfaction as a sense of honor and pride, leading to a sense of vanity. The intention and starting point of parents doing this are good, showing love and care for their children. However, the outcome may not necessarily be positive. I'm not saying that all children are like this, but at least a majority of them may develop a sense of vanity as parents. How should we handle this? I want to urge young parents to carefully contemplate this matter. Take some time to reflect and observe the children around you, including your own, to see if this phenomenon exists. Many times parents may try to satisfy their children's desires just because other children have something and they feel their child should have it too. Is this way of thinking correct? It's not. You should think about why this thinking is incorrect, because there is no end to satisfying their desires. This can lead to many family conflicts. There are indeed many children who by the age of 8 or 9 become difficult to manage for their parents. This is because parents continuously indulge their children's desires, and as a result their demands keep increasing. Eventually their demands may exceed what the parents can fulfill. What happens then? Parents may find themselves unable to meet their child's ever-growing demands, and the child may start to act out and use all means and methods to get what they want, even resorting to not studying well. Some children may go even further and test the limits of their parents, pushing boundaries step by step. Many parents, especially those with fewer children, may be afraid to discipline or scold their child, and as a consequence the child becomes like a little emperor in the family. Bluntly speaking, it seems that parents are now the ones trying to please their children instead of the other way around. This phenomenon is indeed quite common, and everyone needs to reflect on it. The process that leads to this behavior is lengthy and not something that happens overnight. It is related to the lack of principled tolerance from us as parents. It's natural to show love and care for our children by tolerating some small things, but when it comes to matters of principle, parents cannot afford to be lenient. Not from the beginning. You cannot allow your child to cross the bottom line in their relationship with you as parents. What that bottom line is will vary for each family, and it's up to you to think about it, especially as children grow older into their teenage years. In a state of naivety about certain things, they become eager to spend money, and their spending knows no limits. They want to buy this today and that tomorrow, especially in today's society with online shopping being so convenient. Children have smartphones and know how to operate them, which can lead to even more serious problems. Everyone think about this. What will you do if one day your child demands a large sum of money that you cannot satisfy? To be honest, many children start learning bad behaviors in such situations, whether parents admit it or not. So where is the mistake? The mistake lies in parents allowing their children to cross their boundaries. This is a fundamentally irresponsible attitude. Responsible parenting requires having boundaries that should not be crossed. You know, as parents you are responsible for your child's behavior and everything related to them, but when your child's behavior goes beyond your ability to satisfy it, I want to ask you, what will you do then when you cannot meet their demands? Will they still be able to learn well? Won't they learn bad behaviors? They will develop various desires and may resort to any means to achieve their goals. As parents, don't you feel sad about such a situation? Let's talk about the reasons behind these issues. Even though it might offend some of the parents, just think about it. Have you as parents exhibited vanity in front of your children? I can say with 100% certainty that you have. For example, when your child starts elementary school and struggles with their studies, have you compared them to your friends' children or their classmates, asking why they can't keep up or why their academics aren't good enough? This initial vanity arises from the family environment rather than the social environment. Some people might think that children learn these behaviors only when They go to kindergarten or school, but in reality it starts within the family. As parents, your vanity is already strong, especially concerning your children. You compare them with others, whether it's for praise or compliments, and that display of vanity is evident in front of others. Your vanity as parents can instill a sense of vanity in your child as well when they fail to meet the standards of vanity you expect, which happens most of the time. They start seeking ways to fulfill their sense of vanity. This leads to the development of lying and a constant desire for their vanity to be satisfied. Gradually they form their sense of vanity and a desire to showcase themselves as parents. How many of you realize that your child's psychological state is a result of the influences you have brought into their lives? Speaking objectively, we often talk about parenting and refer to it as family education, which influences a child's future life sign. Frequently we often hear people say about others, this person has no upbringing, which means a lack of family education. Have you ever thought about how that kind of family education is formed? What kind of upbringing have you provided for your child? When you instill all these vanities and various psychological states in your child, I must ask, can your child develop well? Your child is human, not a god. Please remember this point as we reach this stage of discussion. We are talking about family education. The most fundamental state of family education stems from you as parents. If you lack a good psychological state and fail to provide proper education to your children, they will develop poor family education from an early age. Frankly speaking, children raised in such families will undoubtedly be criticized as having no upbringing by others. I wonder, when your children are criticized for having no upbringing, don't you as parents feel any sense of guilt? To be straightforward, you are simply not qualified as parents. Another prominent aspect is that most parents, when their children are young, say around 5 or 6 years old, tend to argue forcefully and point fingers at others when their child makes a mistake or behaves impolitely towards someone outside, especially when the other person is an adult. They might say, why are you arguing with a child? It's not about others arguing with your child, it's about your child's upbringing. But how many young parents are aware of this issue? Have you ever thought about the impression and impact you create on your child when you argue forcefully and unreasonably in front of them? Have you considered how this impression and impact can affect their entire life? Have you thought about the harmful and terrifying psychological effects that your irrational and boundaryless behavior can have on your child's future? Children raised in such families may develop distorted and dangerous psychological states in the future. Therefore, here we need to emphasize that as parents, especially young parents, during the formative and impressionable years of your child, you should impart good family values and education rather than engage in aggressive and irrational behavior without moral boundaries. If you act in such a way, you are not nurturing your child. To put it bluntly, you are harming your child. Many people may not understand, but there is a phenomenon in the world where many wealthy individuals choose to donate money to charitable organizations rather than give it directly to their children. We have all heard of this, right? Many wealthy parents expect their children to work part-time or take on jobs to support their college education rather than providing unconditional financial support. Why is that? These parents understand that it is essential for their children to realize the difficulties of earning money and the importance of self-reliance rather than relying on their parents' filial piety or developing wasteful and extravagant habits. Nowadays, many parents are overly indulgent towards their children, which is a very sad situation. Additionally, the elder generation in the family, such as grandparents, often display a form of unconditional, unprincipled and bottomless affection towards their grandchildren. They give them whatever they want, even if it means sacrificing their own needs. These grandparents may live frugally themselves but unconditionally support their grandchildren's extravagant desires. The education that produces such children can lead to two extreme outcomes. First, these children are unlikely to have a successful future. Why? Because Money comes too easily to them. They don't understand the value of money and they lack the concept of frugality. Consequently, they will find it challenging to establish themselves in society later on. As you can well understand. Secondly, even if such a child becomes financially independent and capable of supporting themselves, their belief system revolves around one thing: money in their mindset. Whoever gives them money, or in other words showers them with gifts, is the one they consider as treating them well. Such children lack genuine affection or feelings for others, and their emotions are merely a facade put up for their own interests. These children can become despicable and shameless individuals in the future. If your child is on this path, you can be sure they will never genuinely respect you, as their respect is solely tied to money. They view the world through the lens of financial gain, and their actions can be summed up with the old saying, whoever has milk is my mother. Is it not pathetic if a child reaches such a point? I've interacted with many young people nowadays and they are all like this. They only care about money. Their relationships with their parents are strained because their parents' money doesn't satisfy them. Moreover, these kids engage in reckless behavior outside, and some of them have chaotic lives. They treat their bosses better than their parents, and the reason is that their bosses pay them while their parents don't reward them. In this kind of family dynamic, the concept of familial love has already become twisted to the point where it's almost unnecessary, to put it a bit bluntly. When your child only values money and not relationships or family, it might be an indication of a distorted family situation. I'm not sure what everyone else thinks about this, but you can look into it for yourselves. The most detestable are those extremely hypocritical and shameless kids. After they start working, they loudly proclaim their filial piety as if it's a persona they put on, a facade they use as a label. But behind it all, they only care about money and not their family. Their so-called filial piety is as far from them as possible. They don't want to serve or support their parents. What they want is for parents, grandparents and all elders to show them filial piety instead, and then they boast to others about how dutiful they are and how well they treat their elders. These kinds of children are even more terrifying, as they are not only shameless but have also lost any sense of affection. It's hard to even consider whether such children still belong to the human race. Unfortunately, there are many young people like this in society. There's no way to prevent such things, let alone cure them, because we can't change the larger societal environment. Any deviation from the most fundamental aspects of family upbringing can lead children down such a path. The upcoming lectures will also address this issue, so there's no need to dwell on it further. This concludes this session.
Friends who are interested in my lectures, please click to subscribe and click on the little bell. At the same time, the links to the Big Tree Thinking Model Theory ebook and the Big Tree Thinking Model and Junior High School Mathematics lectures are here below. Friends can click on the link to watch related free lectures. Thank you all.